Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today we'll be looking at Sephiroth and answering the question of if you should take him to 140. Now, I think this one's kind of a little bit more straightforward. It's kind of obvious. If you got him and you got him to 120, definitely take him to 140. I don't think anybody would disagree with that answer, and on top of that, he's going to be the first unit that I would have to recommend re-rolling. He's absolutely top tier, and you would not be wasting your scrolls trying to take this guy all the way. Before going into the bestowed effects, I do want to say that I talk about these stats mainly because maybe you're new to the game or you're just not familiar with how important some of these stats are. Similar to Yuffie, there are going to be an influx of units that are going to get this evasion to guaranteed hits. So I think it's safe to say that just having guaranteed hits outright is not going to be enough to just get by. And whatever you can do to kind of stat pad that accuracy, your dex, and your luck is just going to be super important. So moving forward, if I make a reference to HP, it's probably going to be because they're a tank and it would be absolutely necessary for them, because generally HP, luck, dex, accuracy are just going to be outright important for everybody. And aside from those general stats, you're definitely going to want as much attack and AP as possible. The reason why AP is going to be so important is that he wants to use that Masamune waiting skill, especially if you're not really familiar with the map that you're using him on. He may just go into Masamune waiting and that's all he has time for. So if you're not using somebody like Little Leela who can give him that reaction block raid buff, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice not using Masamune waiting. Now, as far as his bestowed effects, Sephiroth is somebody who definitely wants to go up against physical teams. We'll look at his skills and kind of go into that a little bit more. So the Pierce and Missile Resistance is pretty good. You can stack this with cards as well. So when it comes to Shadow Flare, the only thing that's really getting buffed is that it's making it a guaranteed hit. It already lowered CT and already dealt that medium damage, but having an extra guaranteed hit is definitely not anything bad. It's something else that you can kind of rely on, but the main thing is definitely lowering that CT. It slows down the team and it makes it easier for him to just kind of outpace them. Looking at Masamune waiting, this raises his light resistance, his reaction block rate for his allies, and is giving him another reaction ability that will proc only on physical attacks. So that missile and that pierce resistance is actually going to kind of come in handy. So you really want to try and stack those two, as well as the slash resistance with cards, maybe trust stones. I'm not going to say that he doesn't do well against magic teams. He's definitely a really strong DPS, but like any other unit, you really want to try and put them in favorable positions and just give them the best chance to win the fight. The only thing that I feel is more important than Masamune waiting is definitely Veil of Woe. This is going to give him a barrier and it gives him AP restoration, so you don't have to worry about using bells or anything else for AP. And the barrier outright is just going to kind of help keep him alive. It's going to be good against physical and magical damage, but realistically, as long as he has the AP and the range, he can be a terror just to deal with, so it may not even get to a point where he'll get attacked. There are plenty of cards to just make him really fast, as well as Black Rose Helena's card, so I feel like Sephiroth is just really going to shine when it comes down to whoever you're pairing him with. Power of the Lifestream Plus is something you probably want to just keep on him. Giving him that elemental resistance and that defense pin is going to be pretty good. And him being a dark unit, it just adds a lot to his foundation. You can add to this with trust stones and possibly just put him in a situation where he's not going to be imperiled really easily. Now, Sephiroth does have a lot of good supports, but for me personally, I really just love Lone Hero. Raising his agility and giving him that move is just super important, and you have to consider that even though he's going to have 4 move, he's only going to have 1 jump, and it's not going to compensate for that. He's going to be somebody who's going to benefit from placement, just where you put him on the team. So just try to make sure that he has access to his team, or maybe somebody will move before him that he can get to them. Doing this will give him the ability to go into Masamune waiting and then have enough time to go into Veil of Woe without him reaching the enemy or the enemy reaching him, because he does have a lot of skills that have a lot of good range. Tele-evasion is probably his best reaction ability, and it definitely adds on to where you want to just really target mainly physical teams. It's going to pair perfectly with Little Leela's buff or maybe his own buff with Masamune, and there's nothing better than both of those proccing. You get that damage and you just avoid whatever they're sending your way. As far as his sub job goes, I feel like Pugilist is just my personal favorite. He gets breathing technique, so if he has the space, having a means of healing yourself is always just going to be very good for PvP, especially for guild battle. But if you're using this, I would try to make sure I turn Iron Body stance off. He'll go into this over his Veil of Woe, and for me personally, that's just kind of worst case scenario. That barrier is extremely powerful, and the AP restoration just kind of helps him stay in the fight. And outright, when it comes to Pugilist, it's just giving him another means of dealing damage. Maybe they're really stacked on slash resistance, so maybe having that strike will just give you the edge and give you that ability to take people down. Now, talking about his limit break, oh my goodness, removing courage and re-raise from targets. This is an AoE and it lowers his AP consumption. It's a guaranteed hit. This is extremely powerful, extremely annoying. Even if it doesn't hit them, it's going to slap that re-raise and that courage off of them. This is probably the best limit break in the game, to be honest. And on top of that, his mastery ability is actually pretty good. The slash pin is just something that kind of comes in clutch. The crit rate is kind of eh. So it's possible that this will get a buff in the future, so something to kind of keep an eye out for. So generally, Sephiroth is just overpowered. He's really, really good. good. If you have the right cards, he's going to excel. He can break barriers, lower agility, lower CT, just everything that you really want, especially for guild raid. So that'll pretty much do it for this video. Once again, he's probably just like the best, if not second best unit in the game. A lot of versatility, and he's just extremely useful in a lot of different game modes. So if you plan on re-rolling him, I really hope you get lucky. Once again, just remember those stats that I mentioned beforehand, and you should be pretty much good to go. I hope to catch you guys in the next one, and take it easy.